Welcome to Ask the AD. I am Jason Knavel, Assistant AD for Athletic Communications, and I'm here with Greg Christopher, our Athletics Director today. Dave Horger is under the weather today. We hope that he gets up and gets moving and is better soon, and we are thinking about you, Dave. So we're going to do Ask the AD today. And Greg, let's start with a football question related to the Military Bowl, just the financial numbers. How did that finish out for us?
Sure. Obviously a great experience for, I think, the fans, the student athletes, and really everybody with Bowling Green. We had about 3,000 people in Washington, D.C., and all of the MAC bowls except for the Orange Bowl, which is a different animal, more or less worked with this formula. The MAC gives us a sum of money to work with that's predetermined based on historical costs going to that bowl game. Then we also keep anything ticket sales-wise for the bowl game. So all that told together was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 to $450,000 we had to work with. We actually are finishing up the budget now, but it looks like we're going to be a little bit in the black. And we've told the president that we've got some money that we'll be passing along to help pay for the band. So being under budget was what I was told to do, and I'm happy to say that we were able to do that.
Sure. Great. Let's move to hockey a little bit. The hockey team's doing well right now. It's been a fun ride here lately. Talk about the WCHA. Where are things coming along? And as well, we know Alabama Huntsville just joined the conference, and talk about that process.
We just had our meetings in January. The president and I went down to Dallas, the NCAA convention, and that's where the WCHA meeting took place. That's where we voted on and brought Huntsville into the league. So I think it's great to have them. If you look at what they've got on paper as far as their preparations and their plans for hockey, I think they're going to fit very nicely. I know in the past there have been some questions about that program and the commitment to it, but again, I think everything is in place now for them to be successful. Having 10 teams in the league makes such a difference, especially when 2 of those teams are in Alaska. So it's going to cut down a little bit on the travel to Alaska, which is a good thing, evens out scheduling. It's a program that I think there's a commitment to. Huntsville's not a bad place to be in January when some of your other alternatives are Minnesota and Alaska. So I think there's some positives that way. So looking forward to adding them to the league. We are adjusting the schedule. I mean, some people have seen, I think privately, what our schedule looks like for this fall. That's gone now. We're working on a new schedule to insert Huntsville into the league immediately. So you're going to start to see them on the league schedule this fall.
Sure. Good. We've got some winter sports that are beginning to head towards the postseason. Talk about kind of your view of how our winter sports have gone so far.
Sure. Down the stretch we go with, first of all, our Olympic sports. I think the 2 that are coming up on their championships, you've got indoor track, you've got swimming. I think both of those teams have made nice progress this season. Swimming might be a year ahead of where track is in the progress, but they both have made positive steps. Petra especially has done a really nice job and the improvement that you've seen this year with that program. The 3 revenue sports then, we just talked about hockey, and again they started slow in the fall but have really turned the corner once you got back from the break, and similar to last year they're starting to get points almost every single weekend, and the sweep against Lake Superior was really solid. So where they wind up and the idea that we might get to host, again, I think shows the progress of that program. On the basketball front, the men have been inconsistent. Coaches would say that, student athletes would say that, I think our fans would say that. They've had some fantastic wins this year, they've had some frustrating losses. And then the women have had, I think, a really positive season. You weren't sure what you were going to get with this team with some of the changes in the roster, coming into it, and now with Jazz hurt. I hope they can finish strong. But clearly this is a team that is going to compete for the championship down the stretch. And once you get to Cleveland, anything can happen. And we've proven that we can beat the best team in the league, at least Central Michigan right now. So let's see how they finish. Again, losing Jazz is going to hurt. And I think Lex getting her nose broken last night doesn't help. But bottom line, it was a positive win. And again, positive where women's basketball is.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of noise out there about recruiting rule changes, just NCAA rule changes across the board. But take us through a few of those rule changes in regards to recruiting, and then how those might affect us at BG.
The word that gets used over and over is deregulation. If you read the stuff out of the NCAA, It's all about deregulation, and another phrase that gets used a lot is home rule. The idea that it's going to be up to each campus now to figure out what they want to do as it relates to rules, as opposed to the NCAA mandating it. That they're not going to mandate fairness. The idea that some schools have more money and it's a built-in advantage, and so be it. So if you had to sum it up, that's probably the easiest way to do it, but that doesn't give anybody any specifics, and to give examples that we've talked through, and we're just going to have to continue to talk through on this campus and other campuses too. Media guides are back in play. Something that's close and near and dear to your heart.
Absolutely.
They got rid of media guides a few years ago as a cost savings measure. Well, that's one of those things that it's now back in play. So schools that have the money and can afford to do media guides, they can do them. They can be as thick and glossy and full color as they want, or you cannot do them. But this idea that trying to regulate that consistency is gone. As I read it, you could get back into the athletic dorm business. And the idea that, back in the day, there were schools that had, dorms that were Taj Mahal specifically for athletes. Again, you want to do that, you can do that. Is that something that's going to happen at Bowling Green? I don't think any time in the near future. But those types of rules, I think, are just completely off the table. The stuff that's going to be tough to enforce. I know from a coach's perspective, the idea of when you can make phone calls, the number of phone calls, that's out the window. And it's a much longer conversation than we have time for now, but I see it from both sides. The coaches don't like it because it's going to, their quality of life. I think that's a real issue because the expectations on phone calls, especially now. But at the other side, it's not something that could have been enforced. And the cheating that was going on with second phones, for example, is pretty rampant, and a lot more than I think the public is aware. So if you can't enforce it, why do you even have the rule? So again, longer conversation, but if you had to focus on a couple of words, it's deregulation, and it's going to be up to each campus to try to figure things out.
Great. I think that does it this month, and thanks, Greg, and maybe we'll get Dave back soon. So,
all right.
So thanks.
Thanks, Jason.